Morning, church. Yesterday was kind of a downer. We were talking about being murderers, and I don't want us to stay in that very long, so I want to share with you the following verse, 1 John 3:16, which coincides, oddly enough, with John 3:16, which says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." And then what John talks about here in his epistle, in 1 John 3:16, he says, "This is how we know what love is." And guess what he says? That Jesus laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters, which is the exact opposite of what John said yesterday about having hate in our hearts, right? So if we hate people, then we're murderers, is basically what John says. But here he's telling us, how are we to live differently in our culture? We are to love in the very same way that Christ loved us. And again, this isn't any easier for me to hear than it is to be called a murderer for hating. Because to be told I have to lay down my life to love other people, that's a tough definition. Because I can tell people I love them. I can tell them, hey, I'll pray for you. I can even offer help, while in the back of my mind, I know they're not going to say, yeah, can you come help me? And I can feel good about myself because I've offered the help. And yet John says it is actions that show love. And so much so that we ought to be willing, and that we not ought to be only be willing to, but we ought to be laying down our lives just like Christ laid down his life for us. And again, guys, this is the gospel, that Jesus gave his life for us. And if we're going to abide in Christ and become like Christ, then it should become more and more natural for us to lay our lives down, and less natural to have murderous hatred in our heart. That's what it means to follow Jesus. We begin to shed that sinful self more and more as we follow Jesus. We become more like Jesus. And again, is so consistent with what John continues to teach about abiding in Christ. And so today the challenge is, do you love your brothers and sisters enough to lay down your life for them? See you tomorrow morning.